Okay, we will wait a couple minutes just to, I kind of miss Amber being here and she's like running the screen, so now I can't see anybody. All right, as we start having people join, I would love to know who is here from a CS team or an account management team. I know that our topic this month is a little outside of our normal topics of generating pipeline. So if you are joining for the first time and you're from a CS team, if you could introduce yourself in the chat, that'd be awesome. CS Ops, this is great. Anyone from CS Ops this is a great webinar. So if you want to forward this to somebody afterwards, it would be awesome. Welcome, Pam. Nice to meet you. All right, anyone else from CS, Ops, Strategic AM, Manager of CS? Welcome, Janae, super new to UserGems. Happy to have you. Liza, awesome. This is great. I'm really excited for having like a little bit of different webinar topic this month. I'll do a quick introduction and then we can get started. So my name is Justine. I work in product marketing here at UserGems. Before I was in product marketing, I was in customer success and I helped build the product. I helped onboard many different customers in a lot of different types of tech stack with a lot of different strategies. And this month we're joined by Steven, who is actually our founding CSM and currently our director of CS. And he's going to be walking through how we use UserGems for our CS teams to prevent churn, to drive expansion, and how we work with our AEs and account management team to kind of drive these cross and upsells using UserGems. But before that, I do have a couple updates on some new features, and then we'll spend, the majority of the time with Steven talking about what I'm sure everyone is here about, which is UserGems for CS. So a couple updates from our product team this month. So we are in the process of releasing workflow wizards along with our signal library. So we did send out the early access to our customer team. We are launching this to the market in early July, but we wanted to make sure that our customers are able to test it out first. So I'll go over how to use workflow wizards, and then we can see if you wanted to get started with that. We are also opening our AI email generation beta up to customers. I'll let you know how to let me know if you're interested in that. We are super excited about our AI email gen. We've been using it internally for a couple months with our ADR team. And I know I'm a little bit biased. However, it is a lot better than some of these other AI email gen features that I've seen recently released. And they are not paying me to say that, I promise. And then we also just released some new weekly digests for team and managers. So we have one new weekly digest, and then we upgraded some of the other ones. So I'll just get into a little bit of what we changed, just so everyone has a heads up. So first things first, a couple months ago, we released a feature called workflows, which was really great. It was a really technical way to automate all of UserGems actions. So things like assigning leads, adding to sequences, notifying reps via Slack or email. But it was a little bit complicated. It took a little bit of time. So we released workflow wizards with kind of a storyboard onboarding and flow. So if you look here in the photo, on the left-hand side, you'll choose an objective. And every workflow starts with an objective. So you'll either be generating new pipeline. Today, I'll show you what the playbooks look like to prevent churn. So you'll pick an objective, then you'll pick a signal, and then all of the workflows are actually just pre-built for you. So instead of having to go through and select audiences and select actions, they're all pre-built, and then you just have to edit them. So this has been a really awesome feature update for workflows. If you wanted to try this out, it is available in your admin dashboard. You can reach out to your CSM too for some help. We are now accepting some customers for our AI email gen beta. So we've been using this internally. Right now, it is available via our platform or in Outreach. So right now, we are not supporting any SalesLoft, but you can still use this in our platform and just email directly instead of pushing it into SalesLoft. But basically what this does is it'll take two different types of signals. So it'll combine person level signals with account level signals, and then it will generate an email based on both types of signals. And the goal here is not to automate AI email gen outreach. So we still do want someone like an SDR or BDR going through and just making sure it sounds like a little bit less machine learning. But really what this is doing is it's supposed to be taking away the amount of time and the amount of effort and the amount of places that an SDR needs to go to research these types of signals on their own. So as you can see here in this example, we have Sophia. We picked up some person and some company level signals. So you can see that she moved companies, she used us in the past, but also her company got funding of 25 million last month. So as we generate an email based on these types of signals that we're aggregating, you can see that we're putting in a past champion signal with a message. And then we're also aggregating that news, which is that recent funding, also in that email. So the thought here is that an SDR can go through and just quickly edit these snippets. And so they wouldn't have to go through and they wouldn't have to go research Sophia and then research the news on the company. Like it's all right here for them. It's just a time saver. So if you're interested in this, this beta, specifically if you have outreach, we're really looking for some people with outreach and want to try this out with a couple reps, please send me an email. I'm Justine at UserGems, or you can also say I'm interested in the chat and I will find you. The last one, before I kick it over to Stephen to talk about CS, we did improve and release some new weekly digest emails. So if you're not familiar with our emails, we do send 3 different types. So one is for like executive sponsors, where we give you just like overall pipeline summary. We released a couple new ways that we're measuring attribution. So we did update these summary emails to include this new attribution. Along with that, we did also consolidate some of the individual contributor or rep emails. And basically what that means is we just put all of their end user information in one place. And then we also released a new email. So we call this the Team Performance Digest. And you can see a snippet of this on the left-hand side. So basically what this is doing is we created an email just for managers. And from here, you can see all of your team members' performance. So you can see how many job changes they got. You can see what their activity rates are. And then you can see any types of opportunities that were generated and how many opportunities are owned by members of your team. So it just allows for managers to have a little bit of a better time being able to coach or be able to see where they're able to help their team improve with UserGems. All right, so quick here. Thank you for everyone who just said interested in AI emails. I will find you, really excited. But let's actually get to our main bulk of this. So first things first, I just want to see, has anyone tried to use UserGems for a CS use case as of today? Has anyone tried this before? Is anyone currently using UserGems for CS? If so, I'd love to see in the chat. That is why I'm here. Yes, that is exactly why I think most people are here today. We're going to show you working on building it out. Hopefully this is helpful. In the Q&A, you can feel free to drop any questions you have in Q&A. We'll answer them either throughout or at the end, depending on how Stephen wants to do it. But yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for coming. I will hand it over to Stephen to talk through UserGems for CS.
Excellent. Thank you, Justine, and thanks everybody for joining today. I'll be honest with you, I think it's probably something we're hearing more and more of from our customers these days, is enabling all of the champion tracking plays to protect revenue at their customer accounts. I think a lot of folks who start with UserGems come on with the mindset that this is a tool intended for generating new business and new pipeline. But it really is a two-sided coin, right? There's just as much, if not more, value to be gained from understanding champion movements when it pertains to customer accounts. One thing I think that we're all familiar with, those folks that are working in CS, is losing a champion at coming up on a renewal is maybe one of the biggest churn risks that we can come up against. I think we also know right now in the market, budgets are tight. People are cutting anything that's not necessary. And having a strong champion network is absolutely essential to making sure that your accounts are actually in a good spot. I think it's the kind of landscape where, you know, an account can be glowingly green according to your health metrics, but then someone leaves and everything gets derailed. So there's a lot to be done with UserGems in terms of making sure that you understand where champions are going, and I will be walking you through some of those playbooks today. Great. So there's a few different ways that you can use UserGems for CS use cases. First and foremost, you can obviously set up some kind of notifications or workflows directly in your CRM. So whether that be Salesforce or HubSpot, we can talk about what that would look like. I think most customers I talk to usually have some sort of a CS platform, like a Catalyst, Gainsight, ChurnZero, Planhat, Vitally, you name it. A lot of them work the same these days, but we can talk about what that looks like as well. And let's say you don't have a good system for doing it in either of these places. Maybe your RevOps team is tight and they can't help you out in Salesforce to build this out, or you don't have a CS platform. UserGems workflows can also support the most important notifications and actions that you should be taking on the CS side with UserGems. So let's go into the playbooks. Cool. So I think generally speaking, there are 3 playbooks that we're running here at UserGems that have been really important for our team, and something that we've been iterating on as we go. The first playbook is the obvious one, a champion leaving a customer account. It seems like one of those things that's easy enough to try and track on LinkedIn, so on and so forth. But if you're like me, and I would imagine a lot of your CSMs are, you're coming up on a renewal, you're going to have a conversation with your champion, and either they're already gone or they're going to be leaving in the very near term. We want to especially make sure there's never that case of they're already gone and now I need to scramble to find somebody else to work with. Instead, with UserGems, we're able to kind of alert when a champion is leaving near real time, so that your CSM, your AM is being notified that someone left, and you can work on getting ahead with multi-threading to other stakeholders. The second playbook is a past champion joining another customer, and this is one of my favorites. This would be the case where we're monitoring, you know, a champion, a user, a past buyer, and then they land at another customer account of yours. Such an awesome opportunity to be able to multi-thread further into your champion pool. And I think the reason that champion turnover right now is so detrimental to CS teams is also partly being too single-threaded, right? It's so important that we're building a network almost, or a net of champions at customer accounts. So if one leaves, another one is there to keep the mission going in the right direction. This is a great way to take somebody who is already a champion, joined another customer, and just link them up as another ally at a customer account. The third playbook is a new exec or buyer joining a customer. And I think this is one of those scenarios where a new exec can absolutely swing a renewal in your favor or against you. So you don't want to leave them having to scramble and find out information by themselves. Instead, what you want to do is reach out to this relevant title immediately, let them know what your tool is doing for their business, let them know the impact, get your champion looping them in. If you have a new exec that joins, especially coming up on a renewal, this is the kind of thing that can absolutely delay the renewal, can cause them to evaluate other competitors, can ultimately cause churn if they decide that they want to prioritize budget for other things. So these are the 3 playbooks we're running. There's absolutely more that you can do as well, but I think this is a good starting point to get into. All right, so let's talk about how it works technically, just because the way that I think this will make the most sense is understanding, like, how do all the tools talk to each other in a way that you can trigger different actions and playbooks. So the first things first, when you installed UserGems as a package in your Salesforce, we added a bunch of different custom fields that indicate when job changes occur. So fields like their past account, their past title, when they started their new job. And then one that's pretty common that we use on the CS use cases is there's a field on the new record called UG no longer at company. This is a field we mark when someone actually leaves their previous company and therefore ends up being the trigger for that champion leaving a customer notification. Then what happens, especially if you're working out of a CSP, the same thing would work in a workflow in UserGems. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you're working out of a CSP like a Catalyst, a Gainsight, Planhat, so on and so forth, all you would really need to do to be able to trigger action off of UserGems signals would be to map the custom fields. So for example, you can see in the bottom of the middle column there, all I did in Catalyst is map this field UG no longer at company. So that way, when we sync our contacts from Salesforce into Catalyst, which is the tool that we use, they're coming over with all of these fields. And as these fields get updated by UserGems in Salesforce real time, they're also updated in Catalyst via the directional sync. And then I'm able to trigger actions like entering a filter when somebody's no longer at company and they have a relevant title, trigger some kind of a task for me in Catalyst. So this is me speaking about Catalyst specifically. I've used Planhat, I've used Gainsight, I've used ChurnZero. I've been around the horn with CS platforms. This play works exactly the same in all of those tools, and it works the same way in UserGems workflows. All right, so now let's actually break down what this looks like in a Catalyst for us. Again, this would be in any other tool as well. We'll start with playbook 1, champion left a customer. So objective here, obviously, is a champion recently left a customer account. We want to notify key stakeholders immediately in terms of like the post-sales team to start looking for alternative folks to loop into the conversation. The trigger is very simple. Basically, what I'm looking at is that field UG no longer at company gets updated to be true, meaning this person left. And then what we would lean on your team for, and we can help you with from the CS side, is what field you want to use to indicate a champion. There's a lot of different options here. You could use their past relationship in UserGems. You could maybe have like a key user field that you guys use internally. Everybody does this a little bit differently. What I'll add is just a side note here is that if you're not currently marking your key champions with a certain value on the contact level in Salesforce, I highly, highly recommend that you put some kind of a process in place to do so. If you don't have a field like this, no worries though. There are workarounds that I mentioned before. However, we've seen a ton of value in using our field called Key User Gems Role. Our team is tasked with making sure they're keeping this very up to date. We run automations to keep it up to date. And this basically then tells us someone with a key role left their company, tell the CSM immediately. And then you can see what happens is when those criteria are true, we trigger a task in Catalyst. And that task is going to the CSM saying this champion left, double confirm on LinkedIn. And if they have, send this email to your other stakeholders to start looping in other folks to work with. Very simple, but something that's way, way, way more important to get ahead of than to just leave kind of sitting on the back burner. So that's playbook 1 and can be done, like I said, in any system, CRM, CS platform, or in workflows. Okay, playbook 2 is past champion joined another customer. The objective here is also pretty simple. You have someone that you worked with before, they changed jobs and landed at another customer account. This is a great person to loop into your conversations. So the trigger for this one is we just look to see that the record was created by UserGems. We look to see that their job started date was within the last 3 months. We make sure that their past relationship is a key relationship. So if you're not familiar with past contact relationship, all this means is that when we track people for a job change, when we create the new record in Salesforce, we'll tell you how they knew you in their past role. For example, if they were closed one off contact or a champion, we make sure they landed at a customer account. And we also just check to see that they don't have an activity logged yet via the activity date field in Salesforce. When those things are true, what we do is actually trigger an auto email sent on behalf of the CSM. And it looks something like you can see before on the screen, where we're basically saying, hey, contact, I noticed you joined your new account. Congrats on the new role. Not sure if you already knew this, but your new account is also a UserGems customer. Would either of the below be helpful? Schedule time to get me caught up, intro me to the folks running point on UG. As you can see, I threw some analytics below. We've got 92% open rates here, almost a 30% reply rate. Just an awesome way to make sure that champions don't slip through the cracks when they join other customer accounts. All right, and playbook 3, the last one, new exec or buyer joining a customer account. This one's also super important. For example, I'll use UserGems here. We have a renewal coming up, a new VP of sales joins. As a CSM, I want to know about that immediately because the new VP of sales is going to have ideas how they want to spend budget, which tools they want to double down on, what are the top priorities for them. And so as a CSM, I would want to reach out to that VP of sales almost immediately and let them know this is how UserGems is already helping you, and I'm here to give you any more information that you need. Trigger for this is simple, that the lead source is UserGems new hires. This is part of that new hires and promo signal. We'd be looking to see that the job started in the last 3 months, that they don't already have a key relationship, meaning that the CSM hasn't already reached out to this person. They're a customer and they haven't been contacted. Similar to the last one, what we would do here then is trigger an auto email sent on behalf of the CSM saying, hey, contact first name, notice you joined your new account recently, congrats. Based on your title, I thought you should know that you're working with UserGems to do X, Y, and Z. Would any of the below be helpful? Give me a demo, send me a pipeline summary, so on and so forth. You would customize the messaging, of course, to your business. And same thing here, we've gotten pretty good open and reply rates on these new execs joining. At the very least, we know we're getting air coverage that new execs know what UserGems is when they're coming in. And more than anything in like this kind of market, you want to make sure there are no blind spots in the people that will be kind of holding the budget for your renewal. So I think this one is also super, super important for CS teams to run. Cool. I think that's it from the playbooks front. Justin, I don't know if you wanted to show really quick in UserGems how you can also do this via workflows.
Yeah. And also, Coleman, I will send out the recording and the deck to everybody after this. Thank you for the reminder. So this is actually what I was talking about earlier. This is our new signal library with our workflows wizard. So in terms of the objective here, you can have the CS objective. So as soon as you go to multi-thread and prevent churn, and then you can pick the signal. So the first 2 playbooks here that Stephen talked about were about past champions. And then the third one that Stephen talked about was actually about new hires. So that would be a different signal. But after you continue on, you can see here that you have 3 options. The first one is your past champion joined a customer account recently. So we consider recently within the last 3 months. Or then the second one here is left customer. This should be more than 3 months ago. Yeah, Stephen, I'm realizing.
No, it says 3 months by default, but it's just any recent champion that left. Yeah, that left in the last.
Oh, joined and left. Sorry. Yeah, joined and left. And then we also have an opportunity to create a custom audience. So if one of these doesn't necessarily work for you, or you want to look at like a larger date range, you can do that in the custom audience. So this is how you would create those really simple workflows, just using the customer success objective.
Yeah, and all of the audiences for folks who would kind of hit that criteria are built out in the playbook. So if you click through here, when you hop into UserGems, you'll see your audiences there. There are already pre-prescribed actions to send emails and Slack notifications to like a CSM or an AM, which will have all the content about this person who joined another customer account. There's even a templated message that they can copy and paste and send to this person within the notification as well. So everything that we're doing in Catalyst is also here and can be replicated in any other CS tool.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, is there any questions for Stephen while we have him? Stephen has, like he said, set this up in many CS tools with UserGems. So especially if you have any like a specific, I have this CS tool and I have questions, now it would be a really great time to ask, or any other questions that you have for Stephen about how he's using UserGems to run point with our CS team here. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming. If you have any questions for us, definitely feel free to reach out to us directly on LinkedIn or by email. Both of our emails are firstname@UserGems. Sorry, Stephen, I totally just volunteered you to start fielding some emails, but I'm sure that you'd love to talk about CS and UserGems. Just as a reminder, we host these every 3rd Thursday of the month. We have a different topic every month. If you have any topic suggestions too. A lot of our topic suggestions come from these sessions. I think maybe I see a question from Pam. In the last scenario, do you recommend the email comes from the CS or from the CS executive? So I'm assuming like maybe like a manager or the individual contributor.
Yeah, it could absolutely be either. Candidly, most of them are coming from leadership at our team right now. I think it really depends with the kind of titles you're working with, and if your CS executive is okay putting their name down to reply if they get some answers. But I do think, kind of going a little bit higher in the power line also carries weight, especially when you're talking to other executives for sure.
Cool. That was a really great question. Thanks, Pam. All right. Thanks everyone for joining this month's Dig Deeper. I will catch you all next month where we're going to be talking about AI, of course. So join us in July to talk about that. Thanks everyone. Bye. Thanks, Stephen.